Hey everybody! In today's video I'm going to be trying out a new resin called Puduo. This company reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do a review of their products, and I agreed, so here we are. The package came with the epoxy resin hardener and the resin itself, and it also came with a few extra things like these little measuring deals, and they even included some gloves, which is nice, and there's even some sticks for mixing and all of that, and then the instructions, of course. So when I got this stuff, I actually reached out to them and kind of started a dialogue about how the review is probably going to be, and it's because I saw how thick the product is. And I recently did a review of another resin that was also very, very thick. Like, they're very similar in a lot of ways. And I didn't review that product great. And it was because it was so thick that there were so many micro bubbles in it. So I reached out to the company and said, hey, the review might not be the best because of the bubble situation, and I just want to let you know that and see if you want me to go forward and do this, because I want to be completely honest with my viewers about how I feel about a product. So they said, yeah, that's fine. They suggested warming up the resin, which does tend to help with the bubbles a little bit. So we'll be including that step in because they specifically suggested it. And what that will entail is just, we're going to take the bottles, we're going to put them in some cups and put hot water into the cups and leave it in there for 2 to 3 minutes was their suggestion, at about 170 degrees. So we'll be incorporating that step in today. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and read what's on the bottle and what's on the instructions and all of that. And I forgot to mention earlier, I saw on Amazon that this 16-ounce kit retails for $21, which I think is a pretty good price. I don't know how much shipping is and all of that. I have Prime, so I don't know. But yeah, $21 for the kit. So on the bottle, on both of them, it says the same thing, you know, aside from the A and B thing. So crystal clear, self-leveling, resist yellowing, 40-minute work time, non-flammable, no VOCs, and low odor. All right. Now these instructions are very, very similar to another product that I recently did a demo of. Like all the steps and all that are the same too. So I'll just kind of gloss over this. So setup, find a well-ventilated, dust-free area to set up your resin pour. The temperature should be mild in the 70 to 80 degree range, 65 minimum for the resin to cure properly. Cover your surface, cover your skin. Okay, you'll need to figure out how much resin you'll need for your project. It's always better to have a little extra resin left over than it is to have to mix up another batch of a mid-product or a project. I agree. All right. Pour equal parts resin and hardener into 2 cups and then pour those cups into a third mixing cup. It's normal that you feel the cup was hot because it is a fast dry type resin apparently. It's extremely important you mix thoroughly in this cup. Make sure to scrape the sides, pretty standard resin stuff. To virtually eliminate the risk of soft spots, pour your mixed resin into a new cup and stir it for another 20 to 30 seconds. This eliminates the possibility of unmixed resin from the sides or bottom of the first cup. It's free insurance, so do it please. All right, so the last resin that was just like this in like thickness that I worked with, it was all of these same steps. So what that is going to entail is, all right, I'm going to use these cups, but I'm not going to measure in them. I'm just going to measure my resin in these cups because they're what I'm used to and what I trust. So I'm going to pour some side A into one, I'm going to pour some side B into one, and then I'm going to pour the contents of those cups into another cup. And then I'm going to stir up that cup, and then I'm going to pour that contents into another cup. So that's what that is going to look like. The other side of the directions are like coating a tabletop or coating a bar top, coverage. All right, there was some stuff here that was relevant. Oh wait, no, maybe it's the other side. Okay. Okay, so after the mixing and all of that, you should pour your resin into your mold or canvas or what have you. Come back in 5 to 10 minutes to check for air bubbles. For smaller castings, bubbles can be popped with a toothpick. Yeah, if there's only a few. If there's a bunch, then that's not really going to do much. Your finished casting can be removed from the mold after 8 hours. So that's pretty quick, and I think hence the cup is going to heat up because this is a fast dry type of resin. So yeah, it sounds like we'll be able to handle it after 8 hours. So cool. Now what I'm going to do is get ready to heat up my resin because it was specifically suggested to me. So what that's going to look like is one bottle is going to go into one glass, and then another bottle is going to go into another glass, and then hot water or very, very warm water. I don't know what 170 degrees is. I'm assuming it's hot. I don't know. I'll use a thermometer to be pretty precise about it. But hot water, warm water, whatever, is going to go in there just on the sides, and the bottles are going to sit in there for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to take them out, dry them off, and then move on to our next step, which is measuring and mixing the resin. The bottles have been in there for a couple of minutes now. I'm going to get ready to take them out of the water. So in regards to how hot is 170, because I wasn't sure if it was warm or hot, it's hot. It's really hot. It's so hot that I had to put a cup of water into the microwave and microwave it for like a minute and a half. I couldn't even get the water coming out of my tap to get that hot. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So now I'll go ahead and just take them out. Dry them off. It does look a lot more workable. It's doesn't look nearly as viscous. It's still thick, but that very hot water did help a lot. I don't know if it's going to help enough to where the finished products are going to have almost no bubbles, but I guess we're going to find out. Okay, so now I'll get my gloves on and get ready to measure. Okay, so I have my cups all marked off. I was originally going to do 20 milliliters of each, but I decided I'm going to do 30. The molds I'm going to be using for this are these right here, and what's going to happen is I'm just going to mix it up, pour a thick piece in here, a thinner piece in here, and a thinner piece in here, and not do anything special to them, just so we could check out the bubbles and the curing and all of that. And then in this piece I'm going to add some pigment to the resin. I have this very pretty purple color just to see how that performs, because that's honestly what I would use thicker resin for, is when I'm going to pigment something or add glitter, because it hides the bubbles. So that's what's going to happen there. So I'm going to get down at eye level with my resin, and I'm just going to get that all measured real quick. This had a little foil tab or cover on it. I just pulled that off camera. This does look like it's going to be much easier to work with now that it's been heated up so much. Alright, so we have 30 milliliters of that one. Now we're going to measure the hardener. All right. So now I'm going to take both of these cups and I'm going to pour them into one container. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to mixing up my resin, and then I'll get ready to pour it into another cup and mix again. Okay, so this is mixed up very well. Heating it up helped a lot. There are definitely bubbles, but way less than there would have been if it was cold. So now the next step is going to be to pour this into here and continue mixing. I feel like this is a bit extra, but it's in the instructions, so we're going to do it. If you're familiar with resin and you've used it a lot, I feel like you don't really need to do this step. If you are new to resin, then yeah, sure, this step can't hurt. So we're going to do it because the instructions said to do it. And just the thing about like transferring it over like this, I feel like it incorporates bubbles too. And I do feel like there's a few big ones that are in there now because of the pouring. I feel like it's not always really a necessary step. All right, that's good enough. So now we're gonna mix again for 20 to 30 seconds and then pour the mixture into our mold. Okay, it's all mixed up as per the directions. So now I'm just gonna pour a thin layer in here, a thicker layer into this one, and a very thick layer into the last one. Okay, and now with the rest of it, I'm going to take this little mold, like I said, and I'm going to mix some pigment into the remaining resin, and we're just going to pour it right into there. So I'm using this purple. It's a soap making mica that I got from brambleberry.com. I get a lot of micas and stuff from there. Another company I like to get micas from is TKB Trading, and they're very, very cheap and they last a really long time. And I'll leave the link for this particular product and the link to TKB Trading in the description box below. Okay. Okay, so these are all good to go. Now I'm just gonna leave them alone. Actually, I think I'm gonna take a lighter across the top of them really quick. Okay, and then I'll come back in a few minutes and pop any remaining bubbles. And then in 8 hours, we will come and check these and see if they really are ready to take out of the mold, and we'll see what's going on with the bubbles and all of that. I think heating up the resin that hot will help a lot, so we'll see. So I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so it's been a couple of days and I'm gonna get ready to unmold them. One thing that I was making sure to pay attention to is the instructions say that it has an 8-hour cure time, that it's totally finished and ready to be popped out of the piece in 8 hours. So I paid attention to the clock, and when it hit 8 hours, I tried to like dent them and see what was going on with all of that, and they were still very soft. Like the surface, it wasn't gummy. You could touch it and it was fine, but you could also dent into it really, really far. So could I have taken these pieces out at 8 hours? Yes, I suppose I could, but I could also probably take the thinner piece and like completely bend it like that. So I don't think I'm on board with the whole it cures in 8 hours thing. I kept going back and testing it, and like because of that, there's a bunch of little dents on the surface. I would say that it took about 20 hours, to be perfectly honest, which is standard for a lot of resins. So I don't think I would call it particularly different in that aspect. The room temperature was about 75 degrees. So maybe if it was a little bit warmer, it would cure a little bit faster. I actually did mix up another batch and pour it into molds like this and put it on the windowsill where it was very, very warm compared to the rest of the room. And it still wasn't 8 hours. So I feel like the cure time is closer to 15 or 20, we'll call it. So I just wanted to get you up to speed with that. So now we're going to go ahead and unmold them and see what the bubble situation looks like. So I'll start with the thinnest one. All right. Get that to focus. All right, is it bad? No. Are there a bunch of micro bubbles though? Yeah, it's especially for how hot it got. I feel like there should be less. That's still a pretty good amount. It's not tragic or anything, but they're still definitely there. And it's because the product is so thick. I just prefer working with a thinner product. So there's the thinnest piece. Oh, we'll pop out the pigmented piece. All right. And when you're pigmenting stuff, it hides all the bubbles. It's not much of a problem. So if I were to use this product again, maybe I would actually, but only for pieces that I'm pigmenting, I'm coloring, I'm adding glitter to, that I'm not just keeping totally clear. The price point is pretty good. So I'm gonna put these pieces out in the sun and see how they perform as far as that goes. But even if I did use it and it was for pigmenting, the yellowing wouldn't matter because it covers it up really well. So I'll move on and pop the other pieces out. Alright, so that's the thicker piece, which actually has about as many bubbles as the thinner piece. So, okay, that's what's happening there. Alright, and that is the thickest piece compared to the thinnest, but yeah, there's a good amount of bubbles. If you have a vacuum chamber, you can get all of them out, but yeah, I just don't feel like heat even did enough of a trick. And it was hot. As previously mentioned, 170 degrees turned out to be pretty hot. So yeah, I guess that's that. Yeah, would I use it again? Maybe. I have a vacuum chamber, so that kind of changes things. So I will use the rest of the product and I will be able to get the bubbles out. If you don't have a vacuum chamber, if you don't mind the bubbles, then absolutely go for it. If you do mind the bubbles, but you want to pigment stuff, then sure, this product would be pretty sufficient. Alright, so I was editing and I noticed that I forgot to talk about the hardness of the product, so I'm just going to do that real quick. This is a piece from some other resin I use. It is my go-to resin and it has a very hard cure, so I'm just going to use this as a little bit of a comparison. And then these are the pieces that I just made with the Puduo resin. Yeah, I made two of like similar thickness and all of that. So as far as the hardness goes, it's a pretty hard product. I will give it that. I can dent it a little bit with my nail though. I don't think that could really pick up on camera. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know, but I can dent it. Like, it leaves a little mark. The other resin that I'm used to working with does not. There is nothing there. There is no little mark at all. So, is it a hard product? Sure. Could it be harder? Sure. So, that's what's going on there. So, I guess that covers everything. I thank you so much for watching this video, and if you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing and all those things that go with YouTube. I hope you have a great day.